It is another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the four films of June 8th, 2007. And on this particular weekend, we've got two sequels. One that helped to kind of bring the series back to form after the last film wasn't so successful. Another movie that was not successful for a couple of different reasons. A CG animated movie from Sony Pictures, their second animated one. And we also have the year's Best Actress winner in Bobby and Rose. But we'll get to that in just a second. But before we do any of that, let's talk about the biggest new release of the weekend, which is the third installment of the Oceans trilogy, Oceans 13. Now, see, unlike the last Oceans movie, this is a movie that actually has somewhat of an idea of what it's trying to be in the trailer. The last trailer I showed you for Oceans 12 really felt like that nobody even knew what the hell they were doing there. I mean, the trailer literally ended with George Clooney going, "What are we stealing? Like, what are we doing here?" This time, there actually is a purpose for them to get together. Last time we saw Danny Ocean's crew, they were paying back ruthless casino mogul Terry Benedict after stealing millions from him. However, it's been a while since they've been back together, which is all about the change. When one of their own, Ruben Tishkoff, builds a hotel with another casino owner, Willie Bank, played by Al Pacino, the last thing he wanted was to get cut out of the deal personally by the loathsome Bank. Bank's attitude even goes as far as finding the amusement in Tishkoff's misfortune when the double-crossing lands Ruben in the hospital because of a heart attack. However, Danny and his crew won't stand for Bank and what he's done to a friend. Uniting with their old enemy Benedict, who himself has a vendetta against Bank, the crew is out to pull off a major plan, one that will unfold on the night Bank's new hotspot opens up. They're not in this for the money, but for the revenge. And already, right off the bat, this is the sequel that Ocean's 12 should have been. This is not a movie where everybody has no idea what the hell they're doing there. They're just there to make a quick buck. This is a film that takes the series back to form. Is it as good as Ocean's 11? No. But it does return the series back to form, like in terms of, having a storyline that feels like there's a reason why these people are getting back together again. It's not like a film where they're just making it because they're just making a sequel and we'll just make shit up as we go along. No, this feels like a film that goes back to the format that worked before. And everything about it, I think, really does work overall. I think it is a very entertaining film. Bringing in Al Pacino and Ellen Barkin into the mix here. They both have a lot of really good, interesting roles in this movie in particular. I really like what Ellen Barkin does in this film. She has more of a bigger role than I probably would have thought early on. And there's a whole subplot where Matt Damon kind of has to woo her. And it leads to a lot of really funny stuff. Al Pacino overall is very good in the film. You also got many of the same people back from the last film. Julia Roberts and Catherine Zeta-Jones aren't back for this one here, which is very interesting, but really you don't miss them overall in the film when you really think about it. But overall, the film is just much better at expanding the storyline from the last film. It isn't just a film that is quite simply just another movie that we're making and we're just going to write up as we go along. Because that was the biggest problem with Ocean's 12. Everything about that movie felt like they were just making it up as they go along. Hey, let's bring in Bruce Willis in here. Let's have the storyline that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Why are we all gathering here? Because we're getting a big payday from it. This film really did feel like they were trying to go back to what made the original Ocean's 11 so cool and so slick to watch, and it really does go back to what makes this series so great overall. They have a lot of great new additions to the cast. Everybody that comes back is very good. Everybody does fit the roles very well here. It is just as slick and as entertaining as the original film is. Not quite as good as the original film, but it takes the series back to form and what this series was why the series was working to begin with. And I mean, this really is a nice return to form to the series. Was it unnecessary? Yeah, absolutely, but it works because it's just overall much more entertaining. It has more of a purpose to it than the last film did, and there is more of an engaging storyline here. There is more to it than there was in the last film. It isn't just, let's just redo the same thing and we'll make it up as we go along. When they made this, there was actually a purpose to it. There was a reason why everybody came back for this one, and they weren't just making it up as they go along. Like I've been saying the last couple times already, but Ocean's 13 is a really good movie. It's a really entertaining film. Not quite as good as Ocean's 11, but it's definitely back on track to what these films should be about. And, this is the last time all these guys would get together. There would be another Ocean's movie with Sandra Bullock and Kate Blanchett in a kind of a female version of Ocean's 11 with Ocean's 8, which was, I thought, pretty good. I thought it was actually really enjoyable. But, yeah, in terms of the original trilogy, I'm glad they finished it on a higher note than the last film did. definitely a much better finish than the previous film was. Really good film, Ocean's 13. And speaking of really good films that came out this weekend, let's take a look at Sony Pictures' second animated feature, and that is Surf's Up. So this was Sony Pictures Animation's second big feature that they had made after Open Season was the big hit in the fall. This one was not as successful financially, but I thought it was actually a whole lot better than Open Season was. This film is actually a lot better. I think a lot of people gave it credit for, because, like I said, I've said before, this was around that time when they were making Penguin movies because of the success of March of the Penguins and Happy Feet and of course the Madagascar Penguins. I mean, there was a lot of Penguin movies that came out around this time period, and most of them were pretty good. This one in particular, I think, really is very much one of the more underrated movies that they've done. And this film follows a teenage rock hopper penguin named Cody Maverick, played by Shia LaBeouf, from his hometown of Shiverpool, Antarctica, where all the other penguins think he's nothing but a surfing fool, to the Big Z Memorial Surf-Off at Pengu Island. Young Cody is determined to win the most important competition in the world of penguin surfing in honor of Big Z, a deceased surfer legend whom he'd idolized in childhood. But the waves in Pengu are different than in Shiverpool, and the competition is steep. The current champ, egotistical Tank Evans, played by Diedrich Bader, isn't just about to let this little penguin knock him from first place without a fight. When Cody wipes out and encounters Geek, played by Jeff Bridges, a recluse, aging former surfer living in the jungle, he learns something important lessons about life and surfing, and even teaches Geek a thing or two. And like I said before, this is such a really good movie, and it's an extremely underrated film that Sony Pictures Animation did. Shia LaBeouf, I thought, was very good in the movie. This was a very big year for him, of course, with Disturbia coming out a couple weeks before this. And, he really makes this penguin very likable. He's very charismatic, and it does show what the range he has as an actor in here. You've also got a great voice cast. It also includes Zooey Deschanel and James Woods. John Heder plays this chicken friend of Cody's, who is very fun in the film as well. And Jeff Bridges as a Geek in here, which you do find out who eventually he is. And if you can put the pieces together there, you probably can figure out who he really is. But he plays this role like the dude from The Big Lebowski. I mean, he's literally the dude from The Big Lebowski, and it's just so hilarious to hear that voice coming out of this a bloated penguin character that he literally looks like the dude if he was a penguin, and it's just so perfectly put together here. It's a brilliant casting choice, and you got a lot of good humor in here, a good little story about, how far do you want to go with your dreams, but you have to realize that there's more to that than just following your dreams and all that. Like I said, a great star-studded voice cast, a really good story, a great animation, really good humor all across the board. Such a great movie that does not get the proper attention it deserves. It definitely deserves to be watched. Watch this movie, Surf's Up. It's definitely one of Sony's Animation's best movies that was very underrated. I would also say avoid the WWE sequel they made almost 10 years later, because when I think of this movie, Surf's Up, the first thing I think of, WWE, because why not? Why not have them in there? I have never seen it, nor do I plan on seeing it, because, that's just not my thing. Although I did watch the Jetsons WWE movie that came out the exact same year, but we'll save that for another time. But in the meantime, Surf's Up, great movie, one that definitely needs to be checked out. So with that said, let us go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is Eli Roth's sequel to Hostel, Hostel Part 2. So yeah, this was kind of a film that had a couple things that already went against it when it was trying to come out around this time, but we'll delve into that in just a second. But Hostel Part 2, it follows 3 American female art students in Rome who are directed to a Slovak village that are eventually kidnapped and taken to a facility in which rich clients play to torture and kill other people. Now, there were a lot of problems with this movie getting out to theaters. One of them was that the fact that, several countries banned the movie from getting released to theaters. You're opening up in the middle of June, which is not a very good time of the year to open up a horror movie. The reason why the first movie was such a success was because it opened up in the dumping month of January. I mean, it opened up in a month where nobody really puts anything out there, and that film took off because there was nobody else putting anything out there, and that's why that was so successful. But Eli Roth thinks that's not the reason why. He thinks that because there was a work print of the film that leaked online, and one publisher at the time said it was the most pirated film ever, and Eli Roth said that's the reason why the film didn't do so well. Which, I mean, technically he's kind of right on it, but I think it was just bad placement for this particular movie. You can't expect a movie like this to open up in the middle of the summertime when you have all the kids out of school and you expect them to go see this movie and hope for it to be a big success in general. And it just didn't work out because the film barely made its budget back. It was not a big hit compared to the first movie. I mean, the first film made over $100 million, and this thing barely crossed $35 million worldwide. Yeah, I just don't think the appeal was there. Plus, the movie overall was just dealing with so much controversy behind the scenes. It felt like they were trying to be gross for the sake of just being gross. Like, I'm looking at this poster right now, and I'll show you that in the thumbnail here, because you're not going to be able to get a good grasp of it here. Or I'll just show a picture right here. Like, it's a picture where it's supposed to be like a close-up picture of boar meat, I think it says, but it was only approved by the MPAA when, the marketing executive for Lionsgate showed the butcher shop receipts from the meat. And so but they also had to take it out of theaters because people were getting complaints from theater patrons about it. And, it just felt like they were making controversies for the sake of controversies because, yeah, it's a cool-looking poster, but at the same time, it's just like, just why? Like, why that? Like, it's not even that. Is like, what am I supposed to even take from that if I didn't even see the original Hostel movie? Plus, it also doesn't help that I think they were also really pushing this to be the next big success because they put the first 5 minutes out in theaters in front of Bug and thinking that this was going to be like one of the big hits of the summertime. And everything was going against this movie right from the get-go. Just the fact that it was just way too more violent than the last movie was. Just nothing about the movie made people really want to go see the film in general. And it's just like, yeah, this was something that I think would have done a whole lot better during the dumping month of January because there was nothing else out there for people. But the fact that they put this out in the middle of the summertime, it just hurt the film in the long run. And I don't even think the movie is that great in general. It just feels like a film that just kind of like, they had no idea how to sell the film. It's just like, we had to make a sequel because the first film was so successful. And it doesn't really add anything to the first film in general. It just feels like it's just being made because the first film was such a success. And instead of following the Saw format where we put it in a place where we know it's going to be successful, we're going to put it out in the summertime because clearly people are going to go see this in the summertime. And it just didn't work in the long run. Even if the film wasn't pirated, this thing was not going to make a whole lot of money at all. So that's my personal thinking on it, per se. But that's Hostel Part 2. Let's go in and wrap this week up with the last one that we have here, and that is Marion Cotillard starring in La Vie en Rose. So this is, of course, the biographical music film about the life of French singer Edith Piaf. You just heard one of her songs in there. That's, of course, the signature song for her. But everyone remembers this movie specifically for Marion Cotillard, who broke out big time in this movie. She had been in a couple movies before this, specifically A Good Year, which was not the big hit that it should have been. But this was the film where she ended up winning an Academy Award, becoming the first actress to ever win the first French actress to ever win an Academy Award for Best Actress. She also won the BAFTA, the Golden Globe Award, the Caesar Award. Like, she swept a lot of the Academy Award, the major awards for this performance. And it's kind of hard. It's really not hard to see why, because she really does play the role very well. This is actually one of the better music biographies you'll ever see. It doesn't go down the same format we've seen done before, and even when it does, it doesn't feel like they're just doing it because they know they're making something safe and marketable. This film is not afraid to go to be more dark than it needs to be. It's a film that knows that it doesn't need to be a mainstream movie per se. It can, because it's an independently produced film, they can go deeper than they need to, and they've got great performances all across the board to really save the film in general here. It is a really good movie, highlighted by the performance of Marion Cotillard. She is really good in this performance. The songs in this movie are very well done. It's a very engaging film, visually pleasing to look at. It's a very enjoyable film. It's a really entertaining movie. Definitely one of the better biopic movies that I can honestly tell you, because it's not a straightforward mainstream biopic film that could have easily been destroyed, that could have easily just been made for a quick buck. It's a very small film that knows what it needs to get across to really entertain people, and it just works really well. It's a really good movie, really entertaining. You're going to love it, especially for Marion Cotillard's performance in here. Really good movie. I highly recommend it. La Vie en Rose. And so, with all of that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. Now, the next time we meet, we will take a look at 3 more movies, including the sequel to the Fantastic Four, Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer. We also have Nancy Drew starring Emma Roberts, and also DOA Dead or Alive. So we'll take a look at those 3 movies. That'll be coming up on tomorrow's show. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to hear more videos like this, or see more videos like this, I keep thinking this is an audio, but if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. Also, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, notification button, and the bell, because we post new videos here every day, and that's how you get updated on when new videos come out. Now, with all of that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.